Abuja glowed with restless lights as she posed beside the black Jeep, phone in hand, smile polished like glass. The car wasn't her seat, belonged to her cousin who had stepped into a supermarket for just 10 minutes. 10 minutes was enough. She tilted her head, adjusted the borrowed wig, and let the phone capture what she wanted the world to believe. The caption already brewed in her mind: another night, another blessing. God keeps elevating me. When she uploaded the photo, notifications poured in. Hearts, fire emojis, praise-filled comments from strangers who believed she was the very definition of soft life. She scrolled through the likes, her chest swelling. But when her cousin returned, keys jingling casually in his hand, the moment shattered. She slid quickly into the passenger seat, phone tucked away, pretending nothing had happened. The car hummed to life, but inside her heart, something heavy lingered. The truth was simple: everything about her was borrowed. Her followers imagined chandeliers, satin sheets, and a skyline view. In reality, she opened the door to a one-room apartment tucked behind a noisy mechanic's workshop. The smell of engine oil drifted in as she switched on the dim bulb. She pulled off the wig and tossed it onto the plastic chair. The mirror showed a different girl, barefaced, tired, and far from the glowing goddess online. She sighed, scrolling through her Instagram feed, comparing herself with the rich influencers she longed to become. A message popped up from a fan: *Sis, you inspire me. One day I'll live like you. Her eyes burned. She typed back quickly: never stop grinding. Luxury is your portion soon. Then she set the phone down, opened her small fridge, and found only half a bottle of water and leftover rice. She ate in silence, the taste of cold rice and borrowed lies heavy in her mouth. The next morning, she was back at her stylist friend's shop, pretending confidence she didn't feel. "Chichi, abeg gimme that new 28-inch wig. I get shoot tomorrow." Chichi raised a brow. "You never returned the last one." She laughed it off. "My sister, exposure is coming. When my page blow, know you I go tag first." Reluctantly, Chichi handed her the wig. She placed it on her head, and instantly, the tired girl in the mirror disappeared. In her place stood the influencer everyone adored. But as she admired herself, she couldn't ignore the small voice whispering, "How long can you keep this up?" Boutiques in Abuja had learned her face. She'd walk in with her ring-light confidence, request a few gowns, and promise exposure to her 20,000 followers. Some shop owners believed her charm, others sighed but gave in. Today, she toured in a shimmering blue gown in front of the boutique mirror. Perfect for the weekend event, she told herself, picturing the likes it would fetch. The shop owner frowned. "Return it in good condition. My customers, they complain." She nodded, all smiles. But as she carried the bag home, her chest tightened. The dresses were beautiful, yes. But they were not hers. She dialed her cousin again. "Brothers, abeg, lend me your Jeep for just 2 days. Big collaboration day happen." Her cousin sighed over the phone. "You this girl, one day he go land you walla." Still, he agreed. She picked up the keys, her heart racing as if she had signed a contract with destiny. That evening, she parked in front of a luxury restaurant in Woods. Photos snapped. Videos recorded. Captions flowed: dinner with the big boys. But once she drove back to her small apartment, she sat in silence, staring at the Jeep outside her rusty gate, and felt the hollowness of her performance. Her room glowed under the ring light's artificial brilliance. She shifted angles, adjusted makeup, and pressed record. "Hey fam. Today I'm unboxing some luxury items," she chirped, holding up borrowed jewelry. Comments flew in. Fans cheered. Strangers envied. But when she switched off the light, darkness swallowed her again. She touched her bare face in the mirror and whispered, "No lie be this whole thing." Her follower count climbed to 30,000. Brands began messaging. Fans begged her for soft life tips. Pressure thickened. Every week demanded new content, new cars, new gowns, new backdrops. She scrambled to borrow, stage, and perform. Sometimes she sat awake at night, exhausted, asking herself, if they ever saw the real me, would they still care? Among Abuja's influencers was Ifeoma, a rival with real wealth. Ifeoma had designers, cars, and connections. She despised the girl who managed to compete using borrowed glamour. She's fake, Ifeoma whispered at parties. One day her lies go scatter. And she meant it. Her mother called one evening from the village. My daughter, I see your pictures online. You dey live like queen now, but I no understand why you never send money. She forced a laugh. Mama, soon. Very soon. But guilt burned in her chest. She couldn't explain that all the cars and dresses her mother saw belonged to someone else. Another boutique lent her heavy gold bangles for a photo shoot. She posed like royalty, captioning, dripping only in blessings. Her fans gushed. But returning the jewelry felt like returning a piece of herself. She whispered to the shop owner, one day I go buy all these for real. Bills piled up. Her landlord knocked. NEPA cut her light. But instead of paying, she used her last cash to stage a luxury dinner at a 5-star restaurant. She smiled for the camera, but when the plates were cleared, hunger still sat in her belly. At a rooftop event, she mingled with Abuja's richest influencers. Their perfumes, accents, and laughter weighed on her. She nodded and posed, but inside, she felt like an intruder in borrowed feathers. She forgot to return Chichi's wig on time. Chichi stormed her tiny apartment, shouting. Neighbors gathered. No lie you dey live. Chichi spat. One day, he go catch you. The words lingered like a curse. That night, she scrolled endlessly through Instagram, staring at private jets, mansions, and infinity pools. One day, she whispered. One day I'll have all of it. But deep down, she feared that day might never come. The boutique lent her their most expensive gown, a flowing emerald masterpiece. She wore it to a grand Abuja gala, ringed with chandeliers and champagne. For once, she felt untouchable. Until a man's eyes caught hers across the room. He walked closer, smile knowing, gaze steady. That dress, he said softly, belongs to my sister. Her heart stopped. She froze, the glass of champagne trembling slightly in her hand. The man's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp, steady. He wasn't fooled by the polished smile she managed to summon. Oh, is it? She laughed nervously. I just borrowed it for the evening. Your sister must be very generous. But the man didn't laugh. He extended his hand. I'm keen. And you are. She shook his hand, her palms clammy. Adiz, she whispered, suddenly aware of how fragile the name sounded under the golden lights. Keen studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, not mockingly, but as if he could see past the gown, the jewelry, the facade. It suits you, he said, before walking away into the crowd. Her knees weakened. No one had ever looked at her like that, not with admiration for her shine, but with curiosity for the person beneath it. For days, she couldn't stop thinking about him. She Googled his name, searched Instagram, asked questions subtly in her influencer circles. He was not just any man, he was connected, wealthy, and surprisingly private. Unlike others in Abuja's social scene, King rarely posted online. Then, unexpectedly, he messaged her. Just one line, I'd like to know the real you. Coffee tomorrow. Her chest tightened. The real her. That was the one she had been hiding, burying under wigs, gowns, and cars. But something in his tone, in the steadiness of his gaze that night, made her type back, yes. The next day, she almost backed out. She had no luxury car to arrive in, no new gown to flaunt. Finally, she settled for a borrowed wig and her cousin's clean but simple Toyota. She reached the cafe early, her hands shaking as she stirred tea she hadn't ordered. When Kin arrived, he looked effortless, plain shirt, jeans, and an ease that filled the room. He smiled warmly. "Adis." She forced a grin. "Kin." For an hour, he asked about her and her family, her dreams, her passions. And for the first time, she didn't know what to say. She couldn't tell him the truth, but the lies suddenly felt heavy on her tongue. So she spoke in half-truths, dodging the details. But Kin wasn't in a hurry. He watched her closely, as though waiting for her to peel away the layers herself. When she returned home, she lay on her bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. Something about him terrified her, not because of who he was, but because he seemed to want the one thing she had never shown anyone, her real self. Yet, she couldn't stay away. They met again. And again. Sometimes in simple spots, joints where sear smoke filled the night air, or quiet cafes where no one carried ring lights. And each time, Adis felt pieces of her mask slipping. She laughed more easily, asked real questions, admitted small truths. But still, she clung to the borrowed life online. Her followers had crossed 50,000 now. Brands offered bigger deals. She couldn't afford to lose the illusion. Kin noticed. One evening, as they sat watching the Abuja sunset bleed into night, he asked softly, "Adis, why do I feel like you're hiding from me?" Her throat tightened. She looked away. "I'm not hiding. I just like things a certain way." He didn't push, but his silence said everything. The cracks widened. One night, Ifioma, the rival who hated her, caught her leaving a boutique with borrowed gowns. She recorded a video, smirking as she whispered, "See your influencer queen, renting clothes to form soft life." The clip spread like wildfire. By morning, Adis' name trended for the worst reasons. Comments poured in, "Fake. Fraud." We knew she was lying. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Brands pulled back. Fans unfollowed in droves. The glamorous empire she had built on borrowed feathers was crumbling. She locked herself inside her tiny room, sobbing into her pillow. Hunger gnawed at her belly, but shame was heavier. Then, a knock came at her door. She froze. When she opened it, Kin stood there, holding a small paper bag. "I figured you hadn't eaten," he said gently. She couldn't look at him. "You saw it, didn't you?" "Yes. And now you know the truth." Kin stepped inside, set the food on her table, and sat quietly. After a long pause, he said, "Adis, I don't care about the cars, the gowns, or the lies. I just want to know if you'll ever let me see the woman behind them." Her tears flowed freely then, soaking her cheeks. For the first time, she confessed everything: how she borrowed, how she staged, how she lied just to feel seen. When she finished, silence filled the room. She braced herself for judgment, for disgust. But Kin only reached out, gently brushing her tear-stained cheek. "Then let me help you build something real." In the weeks that followed, Adis' life shifted. It wasn't easy. She lost nearly all her sponsors, most of her followers, and plenty of friends who had only been around for the shine. But with Kin's steady presence, she started over. She sold her ring light, her borrowed wigs, and the designer gowns she could no longer face. Instead, she began posting about simple things: her mother's food when she visited home, the small joys of Abuja streets, her honest journey. Slowly, our followers trickled back, not for the fake glamour, but for the raw, unpolished truth. Messages now read, "Thank you for being real. I relate to this so much." It shocked her. The world she thought wanted only perfection actually longed for authenticity. And through it all, Kin stayed. He drove her to see her mother in the village, supported her when old friends mocked, and reminded her that she was enough without the gowns and cars. Months later, she stood in front of a modest crowd at a local event, speaking about her journey. "I built my life on lies," she admitted, "but when the truth finally came, I found freedom." Don't let borrowed feathers trick you into thinking you can't fly on your own. The audience applauded. Somewhere in the back, King smiled proudly, his eyes never leaving her. That night, as they walked home under the Abuja stars, he took her hand. "Adiz," he whispered, "you don't need anything borrowed anymore. You're already the most beautiful thing I've ever known." She smiled through tears, leaning into him. For the first time in her life, she believed it. And in that belief, she finally let go of the girl who once posed beside cars that weren't hers. She was done borrowing. This time, she was ready to live a life she could truly call her own.